7 reasons she comes back after you give her distance. Reason 1. You became who she actually wanted. This is the reason nobody talks about, and it's the most important one on this list. When you were chasing her, available, eager, always present, you were performing a version of yourself that had no backbone, no standards, no self-respect, and she could feel that even if she couldn't articulate it. It made her feel like she was settling, like she could do better, like something was missing. When you disappear, something shifts. You're forced to focus on yourself. You go back to your purpose, your goals, your identity, the things that made you interesting before she became the center of your world. And you start becoming, without even trying, the version of yourself that she was actually attracted to in the first place. Psychologists call this identity restoration, returning to your core self after a period of self-abandonment. And the man who has returned to himself is fundamentally more attractive than the man who lost himself in pursuit of her. She doesn't come back because you played a game. She comes back because you accidentally became the person she wanted by simply choosing yourself. And that is the most powerful move a man can make, not as a strategy, as a lifestyle. Reason 2. She confuses anxiety for attraction. This is the darkest and most misunderstood psychological mechanism on this entire list. And understanding it will change how you see human attraction completely. When you disappear, she experiences a specific emotional state: uncertainty, longing, mild anxiety about whether you'll come back. Her heart rate increases slightly when she thinks about you. She checks her phone more. She feels unsettled. Here's what her brain does with those physical sensations. It misattributes them as attraction. Psychologists call this misattribution of arousal, first demonstrated by Dutton and Aaron in 1974. The brain takes physical arousal from any source and attaches it to whoever is most salient in the mind at that moment. She's not necessarily feeling attraction. She's feeling anxiety. But her brain labels it as attraction because you're the one she's thinking about. And that mislabeled feeling becomes the emotional driver that pulls her back. She comes back chasing a feeling she doesn't fully understand. And that feeling was created entirely by your absence. Reason 3. She runs out of people to blame. When you were always present, she could project everything onto you. If she was unhappy, it was your fault. If she was bored, it was your responsibility to fix it. If she felt disconnected, you weren't doing enough. Your presence gave her someone to blame for every uncomfortable feeling she had. Your absence removes that. Now she has to sit with her emotions alone. And when she does, she starts realizing something uncomfortable. The unhappiness she was projecting onto the relationship wasn't actually about you. It was about her patterns, her fears, her unresolved issues. And the person who was actually making her feel good, who was actually adding to her life, was you. Psychologists call this attribution retraining, where removing the external source of blame forces internal reflection. She doesn't come back because she figured this out intellectually. She comes back because she feels better in your presence than anywhere else. And absence made that undeniable. Reason 4. Your silence speaks louder. This is one of the most powerful psychological principles in human attraction. What you don't say carries more weight than what you do say. When you were chasing, texting first, always available, always responding, you were communicating one thing clearly: I need you. I value you more than I value myself. And that energy, no matter how it's packaged, is fundamentally unattractive. Your silence communicates the opposite. It says, I have a life that doesn't revolve around you. It says, I'm okay without you. It says, I have standards and self-respect. And none of that needs to be said out loud. The silence says it louder than words ever could. Psychologists call this behavioral signaling, where actions communicate values more powerfully than verbal communication. She doesn't read your silence as indifference. She reads it as strength. And strength, genuine, unperformed, quiet strength, is one of the most attractive things a human being can project. Reason 5. Nobody else measures up. When you're present, she takes you for granted because comparison requires absence. The moment you're gone, she starts looking at what's around her. And what she finds almost never measures up. The guy who texts her now doesn't have your energy. The one who shows interest feels desperate compared to your silence. Every interaction she has with someone new unconsciously gets compared to what she had with you. This is called contrast effect. The brain judges things not in absolute terms but relative to what it's comparing them to. You built a standard in her mind, and your absence forces her to measure everything against that standard. Most things fail that comparison, and when they fail consistently, she comes back to the original. Reason 6. Silence creates obsessive thinking. When you're constantly available, you become background noise. She doesn't think about you deeply because you're always there. There's nothing to think about. You're just present like furniture. The moment you disappear, the silence creates space. And in that space, her mind starts filling in the gaps. She replays conversations. She remembers specific moments. She starts questioning whether she made the right decision. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, whether you've moved on. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. The brain obsesses over unfinished business. When you were always available, you were a closed loop. When you disappeared, you became an open loop. And open loops demand resolution. She's not coming back because she misses you specifically. She's coming back because her brain cannot close the loop without seeing you again. Reason 7. Scarcity rewires her brain. The human brain is wired to want what it cannot have. Psychologists call this reactance theory. When something is taken away or becomes unavailable, the brain immediately assigns it higher value than it had before. When you were available all the time, texting back instantly, always present, always responding, her brain registered you as abundant. And abundance has no value. The moment you became unavailable, her brain did something automatic and completely outside her conscious control. It started craving you, not because you changed, not because you suddenly became more attractive, but because the thing that was always there was gone. And the brain cannot tolerate that loss without investigating it. She doesn't come back because she made a rational decision. She comes back because her psychology forces her to. If this video gave you a framework for understanding attraction that you didn't have before, that's exactly what we do here. Every week, every video, breaking down the hidden mechanics of human behavior so you stop reacting and start understanding. If you're not inside the dark psychology vault on Discord yet, you're having this conversation alone. Most people watching this channel are already in there. Comment Discord below and I'll send you the link personally. And if you want to go even deeper, the books are in the bio. Everything we cover in these videos goes 10 times deeper in there.